Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk about regulation, freedom or strict regulation, but I also will address the German situation, and I will end with a call for action. If you look in the AI community, you have opposing views. On the one hand, Jeffrey Hinton, who says very clearly we need regulation and very strict regulation. He is against the moratorium, but he is for regulation. You might say he's one of this member of the society of long-termists, and he says we have to accept disadvantages for today, for the future of the coming generations. On the other hand, not the godfather, but the father of AI, Jurgen Hoover, he says, I'm completely against regulation because AI will not be able to be regulated. It will develop and grow over the human beings, but AI will not care for human beings. So he is against AI doomerism, and he is for open experimentation and industrial projects. Now, a key issue on regulation, ex post or ex ante, before or after it happens. Now, to be very clear, when you look historically on the speed of innovation and the speed of regulation, you have a drastic speed gap, which, from my point of view, can only be bridged by ethical consensus among stakeholders and regulation ex post. Regulation ex ante, like the EU is trying now with the AI general purpose definition, is even killing ChatGPT in Europe. So that is not the deal we want to have for this community. You have to have a constantly renegotiated ethical consensus and self-commitments of actors, governance and compliance rules of actors, a code of conduct, international societal consensus. Well, a moratorium is even not achieved yet on the issue of manipulation of elections. Do you ever think China and Russia would agree on that? So it's a very naive proposal. But what we can do is look as far as a coalition of the willing and a temporary legal regulation ex post. That is something which I'm really advocating, and I only can say to you, if you look at the moment at the EU regulation, it's killing generative AI. And you have to take your actions into your own hand and make really, and work as citizens, as a community to prohibit that this is coming. US and EU are even talking about a behavioral conduct, code of conduct in the moment, but at the end, the reality is a very strict regulation. The EU security illusion of a risk society makes us to an AI colony in mere consumers of AI. That's why top researchers on the AI Act made a clear statement: over-regulation poses security risks for the EU. They demand a proportionality and appropriate differentiation of regulation instead of a one-size-fits-all approach. They demand, and actually the United Kingdom is diverging from EU with a light touch approach to AI regulation based on existing laws of equal opportunities, discrimination, and human rights. Though they don't have a new legislation to that, but they really say we build on the existing legislation, make ex post regulation and not ex ante regulation. Light touch is an experimental and experiential mode of regulation. And naturally, when we talk about AI, we probably need publicly owned European AI research facilities accessible to European AI researchers with sufficiently large supercomputers. Now, if those supercomputers are centralized or decentralized, let's say, a reflective layperson. But this has to be decided in the AI community. What is the situation in Germany? AI strategy, and I have been in politics for 6 years, is an unword. Michael Porter, the guru of strategy, is unknown in politics. German AI strategy, 2018 born, only 25% cash flow out of the 5 billion, which is already incredibly low. Additionally, 30% tight. No competitive positioning, no strength, weakness, opportunity, threat analysis. Where do we stand in AI? The AI strategy is an addition of singular projects which had been already undertaken the last 5 years and are being continued. No strategic prioritization of options. No interministerial project management. So if you ask, where is the state in the implementation of the AI strategy? The ministry first needs about 8 weeks to collect the data from other ministries. No KPIs for progress and failure. For example, KI brain drain or AI spinouts. Did you know that Great Britain has 9 times more AI study programs than Germany? Did you know that the number of bachelor studies compared to master studies is 8% to 92 master studies in Germany, and it's 50 to 50 in Great Britain? So here we talk about brain drain and brain gain and brain development. AI spinouts. I give you afterwards some numbers, and if you compare that with the size of the nation, you have a clear picture on that. I'm standing here not because I'm a pessimist, but because I want to tell you the bloody truth and then call for the action to take. No learning strategy, AI plus zero. There is no money in any way to do research on ChatGPT because it's all fixed by old projects. And very uncomfortably to say, a lot of startups in Germany fell in the mental trap and believed in the strategy. Research, and here I'm using, I had this on Tuesday, I had in Bonn a speech on AI in the life sciences, and the professor who was talking before me, he said, research is turning money into knowledge. Innovation is turning knowledge into money. Now that is a very rough and black and white definition, but there is a lot of truth in it. But if you look at the number of newly founded AI companies between 2013 and 2022, you see that Germany is far beyond Canada, France, Japan, whatsoever. I do not talk about China and the US. But if you really look and take the case and then see how South Korea, which has about 2/3 of the population, how they perform, or Australia and small Switzerland, you have a picture what is really happening on the AI sector. Reluctance and crisis apathy towards AI in German small and medium enterprises. That is a very recent study from Bitkom, and you see only 9% of small and medium enterprises utilize AI. Only 5% in small and medium enterprises. 64% of all businesses do not see any advantage. Let's face the bloody reality. This country is mediocre. And we really have to accelerate and develop all the power which an innovation community like this has and others have, really to change that. Now also the spin-out strategy is controversial all over Europe. University College of London and Oxford are Europe's worst universities for spin-outs. A Great Britain discussion going on. On the other hand, university spin-outs, the system isn't broken. What do the founders say? European founders are generally not satisfied with their spin-out experience out of the academic environment. Research done by Air Street Capital in the last year. On a scale from 1 to 10, the average mark they gave was 4.6. 14% of the founders rated their experience with a 0. 67% of spin-outs had to wait more than 6 months to complete an investment. ETH Zurich was the best. University of Cambridge was the second best. The average was 4.5, 4.6, and Oxford and UCL in Great Britain rated the least. If you compare European Union with the US, EU spin-outs are far more likely to have a university representative on their board, and not a silent one, an outspoken one. You see that in the US, probably only half of universities were actively involved in entrepreneurial action. On the other hand, you see that the universities in the EU take nearly double on equity than in spin-out companies in the US. So what does it mean? This means research and universities, research organizations, universities, they are kind of cutting off the entrepreneurial spirit. Number two, they take a huge part on equity from startups. Let me finish, and I hope you do as well. I stand for a solid AI strategy in this country. Experimentation and light touch regulation, a worry-free IP transfer from research into the market, from research from the lab into the market, professional technology transfer organizations in universities and research institutions. You know probably that our TTOs in Europe have overall 0.8 years experience in industry. TTO organizations at American universities have 5.2 years. And they have a variable salary system, so they get paid for the deal. Whereas here, the TTOs are paid like civil servants. And I'm not talking about round A financing whatsoever. I call it pre-seed money for startups before they are being founded, so that they really can rent a space in the university, that they can pay the utilization of infrastructure whatsoever. Thank you very much.